Alright, today we're talking about Ghost. They have become the biggest band in modern metal. Their most recent album even debuted at #1 in 10 different countries. That's Metallica level stuff. But here's the thing, they live rent-free in every elitist's head. The gatekeepers don't even consider them metal. But not only is this thinking all wrong, it's the key to Ghost's success. In fact, what if I told you that Ghost were originally a death metal band? If that's the case, why are they so hated? How did they get so big? I've listened to all their music front to back. They take from thrash, death metal, even black metal. And I'm convinced that not only are they definitely a metal band, but that they are the most important band in modern metal. And I'm gonna explain exactly why in this video. By the way, I'm Kane Irvine. This is the heaviest show in the universe. I'm a former metal elitist, basement dweller, lifelong metalhead. Metal's all I do, all the time. I live for it. Let's dive in. Ghost's sound is as unique as any in the metal scene, and that's because their music has been constantly evolving. Before he was ever Papa Emeritus 1 or 2 or now Mecha Papa, Tobias Forge started the Swedish death metal band Repugnant. Now this is super important for later on in the video, so stay with me here. Repugnant has been described by Swedish music journalists as, quote, amazingly old school sounding death metal. It's something you must hear to believe. It's been credited in hindsight with being part of the old school death metal revival we would see near the end of the 2000s and into the 2010s. Despite this, they only have one full-length release. Now the reason this is so important, it gives context to Tobias's mindset and why Ghost music is always evolving and staying relevant, because it's the same as when he was in Repugnant. Check this out. Quote, the one thing I don't think was very evident just because of how things played out with Repugnant was that if you asked me in 99 or 2000 or 2001, I really wanted Repugnant to be signed up by a Roadrunner or a Nuclear Blast or a big label. I wanted to be super professional with the band. Maybe if I played my cards differently, because if I look back on how I did things, it was unprofessional and I didn't really have the foresight, I guess. I had the dream, but I didn't have the foresight. We were picked up by a real label at the time and got a manager, and had everyone kept their ducks in a row, I would have loved to have that band maybe be as comparable to Amon Amarth, a real band that was out touring. I always wanted that. I really wanted to become a big band. Now, knowing a lot of the things that's required, how many stars need to align, and all the decisions you have to make, I can definitely look back on myself as a 21-year-old and quickly see why I didn't achieve that with Repugnant. I wasn't mature. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't there yet. Think about this quote and the future success of Ghost like this. When we're young, we're still developing as people. Our brains are absorbing the world and learning how it works. We have big dreams. We want to do big things, but we have to learn how to do big things first. We try to implement our dreams, but we fail. No one is successful on their first endeavor. Tobias was only in his early 20s with Repugnant, and it would take him until his early 30s to break out with Ghost. He had to fail and learn his own unique sound to realize his full potential with Ghost. This mindset would drive Tobias to find a sound that he could specialize in, one that could incorporate all his songwriting skills that he learned in Repugnant. And not just Repugnant. What I tell you next is gonna make so much sense, especially in the context of Ghost. You see, Repugnant wasn't Tobias's first band. He played guitar in a glam metal band called Crash Diet, and then the pop rock and alternative metal band Subvision and Magna Carta Cartel. Knowing more of Ghost's musical background, its eventual unique sound, well, it begins to make a lot more sense. Those first few LPs are incredibly tinged with 70s influence, from Black Sabbath to ABBA, before they more fully embraced heavy metal on Prequel. I think anyone listening to tracks like Rats and Miasma and then turning around and telling you that Ghost isn't metal, well, they're not being intellectually honest with you. Think about the constantly evolving sound of Ghost like this. There's a performance of Lady Gaga and Metallica from the Grammy Awards a few years back. If we take that potential sound and combine it with Kiss, the aforementioned Repugnant, and ABBA, that's what Ghost truly is. It's a collection of amazing pieces of music from so many different genres, and not to mention producers from all over the musical spectrum. I could go on, but I'm not here to convince you that Ghost is metal. If you still believe after all this time that they aren't, nothing I say is gonna change your mind. But what I say next will change the way everyone views Ghost. Let's get into it. The bigger you get, the more the true metal nerds are gonna hate your guts, because you represent things that they don't see themselves as. Popular, accepted, loved. It's a sad fact. I know, because I used to be this way. But the most popular metal bands, Ghost, Metallica, Volbeat, Slipknot, these guys all play an immensely important role as gateway bands. Think about it like this. Back when you first got into metal, it wasn't because someone showed you Effigy of the Forgotten right off the bat. Absolutely no one loves that shit right away. No. The reason you love metal today was because you listened to the entry-level stuff early on. Godsmack, Shinedown, the Black Album. These heavy but hooky bands were the perfect way to introduce new folks into the metal fold. And Ghost is the absolute pinnacle of these modern entry-level bands. Now pay attention here because this is the real secret sauce to Ghost's importance. People love the inherent heaviness of an awesome metal riff. Think about Enter Sandman. Have you ever met someone who wasn't a neckbeard black metaler that didn't love that riff? No, because it's fucking awesome. That's why metal is so awesome. Everyone can get on board with its baseline attraction. Palm-muted, heavy, twangy riffs. It gets everyone going, even normies. It's when we get deeper, deep into death metal, black metal, the avant-garde, and progressive stuff that the average person gets turned off completely. Alright, so we all agree about the inherent greatness of metal's core. Everyone can get on board with that. Okay, so what does everyone else love? Before I answer that, what's your view on Ghost's music? Why do you think they're so decisive? Let me know down below. The average person loves great pop music. And shit like ABBA and rock pop like Kiss. Normies eat that up. And so when you combine these two things that everyone loves, Metallica, Black Sabbath-esque riffing with the powerful hooks and choruses of Kiss and ABBA, bam, you've got a recipe that everyone absolutely loves. And it's through this powerful combination that metal can pull in new fans. Think about when you heard whatever new metal band or melodic metalcore band you first heard that first got you into metal. That little tinge of heaviness made you want to go deeper. And eventually, you got to death metal. And eventually, you got to black metal. It's a slippery slope that all metalheads start off at the top of. And it's an awesome ride down into the pit of metal's underground. Ghost is currently the pinnacle of that slope, pulling in thousands of new fans to metal all the time. And thousands of those people will end up just like you and me, greasy death metalers arguing about uber-specific genre placements on the internet. Ghost are truly heroes. But it's not just their music that's attracting thousands of people in droves to metal. You see, the most impressive, unique, and intriguing thing about Ghost isn't their music, but their incredibly unique lore that uses their stage performance to do something no band in metal has ever done. Maybe slightly aside from bands like King Diamond. What exactly is that? I'm gonna tell you. Here's the thing with Ghost. It's one thing to make the catchiest, hookiest metal ever, but it's a whole other thing to turn metal into a high theater stage show. One that continues on and builds a deep lore about the band. The nameless ghouls that you see on stage playing music aren't just merely playing music. They're playing a part in an ongoing theater act as part of a satanic cult called the Clergy. And the many incarnations of Papa Emeritus each take turns leading this satanic clergy. Tobias & Co. will use these theater-esque performances to weave the story of the clergy deeper. For instance, on the final show of their prequel album tour, that incarnation of Papa Emeritus quote-unquote collapsed on stage and then replaced during that performance with a new Papa Emeritus. And then they resurrected the old Papa Emeritus for him to continue the new leg of the story just a few years later. It's a complicated lore, and if you guys want a video just on the lore of Ghost, comment down below, I'll make it. Quite frankly, it's genius. And it's just another way people have been able to absorb Ghost in a digestible way. In a way that not even Metallica can pull people in and convert them to metalheads. Ghost's ability to pull people into metal from so many different avenues, live performances, awesome music, deep lore, is what makes them metal's most important band. In fact, this is purely anecdotal, but I talked to a buddy the other day who said he loved Ghost, and if it wasn't for Ghost, he wouldn't be into Trivium now. So there you go. Their music that straddles that line between metal and pop will always have them living rent-free in every elitist's head. But I love Ghost. I hope you love Ghost. There's no need to argue about whether they're metal or not because they slap and they introduce new people to metal all the time. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out this video up here about Whitechapel's The Valley if you're into deathcore. Or you can check out this video on Death's Human if you're into more of the classic shit. Either way, long live metal.